Welcome to Audio Path, where we let you in on our experiences, insights, and real-life scenarios working in the music industry. I'm Trent, and I've been a studio owner and operator, a music venue owner and operator, and a musician.
And I'm John. I've been a mix engineer, mastering engineer, live sound technician.
And together, we've got 30 years of experience in the music industry.
Whether you're an artist, an engineer, or somebody who just really likes music, these stories are for you.
Come with us as we pull back the curtain of the music industry.
And let's take a walk down the audio path.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Audio Path Podcast. If you're joining us for the first time, my name is Trent. I'm here with my co-host, John.
Yo.
Today, we're going to be talking about the steps of steps of song production.
Mm-hmm.
It may be something that, a lot of people are already familiar with, especially if you're interested in this kind of thing and you're watching this or listening to this, then you probably have some sort of process of your own, but we just wanted to share our process and from our side of things to kind of give people a little insight of how we see it and, what some different options are out there.
Absolutely.
So, I'll go ahead and lead into it, I guess.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. So from studio perspective here, the kind of the order of operations from start to finish, we'll roll it all the way back to the demo.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just assume that the song has already been written, and there's been some sort of demo. And when I think of a demo and the very early stages, because a demo is a very broad thing. I mean, there's so many levels of demo at this day and age, right? But when I think of it in the very early stages, it's probably just someone has their phone and they're either taking a video or a voice memo of them playing and singing the song on whatever instrument, guitar, piano, and just capturing it in its early infant stages, basically. And that serves as a way for them to kind of listen to it and see what the song, what's going on, without having to just perform it every time.
Mm-hmm.
And they can share it with their producer or in a lot of cases another bandmate or something like that to kind of get the ball rolling there, right? And so where does it go from there? Okay, so let's assume that they're coming up into the studio and they've got some time set aside for that. So they send it to myself or the producer and they get some feedback. Okay, so they kind of will go back and forth. It could be remotely or they could meet up in person and kind of hash out the song a little bit. And maybe the producer will make some suggestions maybe you could switch chords here in the bridge and it would have a little bit of a different feel. Or, this intro is probably a little too long. What would you think about shortening this? Or, all sorts of different things. And then in the producer's mind or in my mind, you're already thinking, let's assume that there's not a band involved, that you're already thinking of other instruments and different things to add to the demo or to the song. And so that's kind of second stage, still in the demo form at that point. That might go through a couple of revisions with that, and then it could get tracked out in a little more higher quality way, maybe just with a 2-channel interface or whatever, GarageBand or whatever, and it kind of takes a little bit of a step up, and it gives you a chance to maybe add some other instruments if you feel like spending the time to do that. Or have the capability. So then where does it go from there? Okay, so then you've got you pretty well got the song finished is its structure and what it's most likely going to end up being in its core form. It may not have every player, every instrument on it, but it's got the essence, right? All right, so then I would say it goes to actual production, where what the first step would be scratch tracks and getting some sort of bass, like foundational instrument. Now, if you're going to record this live, then you skip that part basically, and you just get everyone in there and you track that thing out, and you got your metronome running, and then you start working on each instrument. Maybe there's some overdubs after that process. Maybe you re-record the vocal or the guitar solo or something like that. So that's a little bit separate, and that kind of quickens the process. But let's say it's more of a studio album thing and you're going to track everything out separately. So then probably start with the rhythm section, drums and bass, and try to get those down as like the real keeper takes. And everything else is going to be kind of thrown away and redone, right? So from there, like you're in full on production mode at that point. And so then, all right, so everything, you get a solid recording. Everybody's happy with their performances. We feel like all the instruments are there. Where does it go from there? So like, okay, so then you're in the middle of production. Then usually the artist will take a little bit of a step back. And the way I do it, I will, move it into the mixing phase. And so that means that I work on it alone initially and kind of get everything, all the puzzle pieces, like where I think they need to be. It gives me a chance to, put some of my vision and artistry into the song, right? That's kind of like my opportunity to put my art form out there. And so I'll do that. I'll work on that solo for a while, and then whenever I feel like it's something that like I've taken it as far as I think it can go, it sounds good to me, I'm pretty happy with it, it's to the point where I just need feedback. So then we'll send it out to the artist, and we'll start this volley back and forth. Sometimes it's remote, and we just work, via email and phone call to make adjustments to the mix. And then sometimes they come in, and we work on it together in person. And it usually goes through like 3 phases of revisions is pretty average, from the mix number 1 to 3, maybe 4 at the very end. And then it's usually done at that point. But then there's one more phase.
The mastering phase.
Mastering.
Don't skip the mastering phase.
Do not skip it. Don't skimp on it either. Do it properly.
Yep.
And yeah, so then it goes to mastering. Sometimes that's me as well. Sometimes I take it from, infancy to, final product. But if I can, and if budget allows, we'll send it off to, someone like my friend John here, for the final mastering version.
Yep.
So that's kind of like a quick and dirty, like, summation of song production from demo all the way to the end. John, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, that's a really great outline of the process, kind of how it goes. I think the only things I would add from my side would be, I don't know, I guess some of the way that I do it, just because when I produce music for people, I typically am doing it all myself.
Yeah.
Which is a little different from kind of the traditional process, I guess. So maybe I can just share what the slight differences that my process has.
Yeah, please
do. That might be kind of helpful. So, so pretty much we do the same exact thing where, I'm just going to skip to the demo phase. Once I get a demo from somebody, which can be either like, a quote unquote fully produced demo that they have like done to a click track or whatever, or it can just be like a phone recording. I mean, a lot of the time I have people who don't have like a full recording setup or anything close to that are like, hey, I want you to produce a song for me. And so what I do with them is I have them, this is kind of sketchy, kind of weird, but what I do is I'll ask them, like, do you have like a pair of AirPods or whatever? And most people have, a set of AirPods or some kind of headbud, earbud kind of thing these days. And I'll be like, all right, cool. So what I want you to do is just get your computer out and do a voice memo of you playing and singing. But I want you to have one earbud in with a metronome.
Okay.
And so that they're at least synced to a metronome.
Yeah.
Because phase one of anything that we do really is going to be like, it needs to be synced to a metronome.
It is very important. I don't usually get it that way, and we have to insert that step. Like,
Right.
what happens is, like, I'll get the demo, and a lot of the times it's similar. Like, they don't have the capability. Maybe I should start suggesting that. But also, a lot of the times, like, they need to practice with the metronome before that even happens. So, to keep the ball rolling, like, we'll work with the demo, we'll make some suggestions, and then like they'll be working and practicing with the metronome along the way. And then we'll get to the point where it's like, okay, before we can even get any other players involved, like, I need you to come in for like an hour and we just need to get some scratches to the metronome.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's, there's nothing you can do if you don't have that.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. That's where it stops. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where I can kind of get around that a little bit, although I rarely do this, but I'll tell you some of the things I've done in the past. If I have somebody that I really like their music and they've sent me a demo that they just kind of recorded that was a voice memo, no timing or whatever, it's just, this is what my song is, and I like the song, and they are not the level of musician that can do it to a click track. I very rarely will proceed, but when I have, what I'll do is I will learn their song,
And play it yourself.
I will play and sing their song. I will create a scratch track for that song.
Yeah.
And then basically once I give it to them and make sure the chords are right, make sure the arrangement is everything that they want. Then once I get that back, I start the process of truly producing the song.
Yeah.
To where eventually, we get to the very end and then I put the vocals in.
Nice.
And so that's kind of a weird way to do it because it's like, it feels, I think, for the artist, like they're kind of removed from the process,
Yeah.
And so it's not, I wouldn't say it's ideal, but
Right.
it is something that I do when it's like they're very serious about, I want to get this song done, I want to get this song produced, and they can't do
Sometimes
it.
it's the only way forward.
Right.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's just another way that I've found around it.
Yeah.
The difference is also I don't have Hourglass Studios. So I have my home studio and I play a bunch of different instruments, fortunately. So for me, I'm usually the one who's like doing all of the tracking of all the instruments when somebody hires me as a producer. Now, not always. I really love hiring other musicians.
Yeah.
Because they give a perspective that's totally different than mine when they lay down a track.
Yeah.
And I like the creativity of it. Sometimes if I'm fully producing and recording all parts, it kind of feels like a bit of a grind because I'm just like, all right, well, I finished drums. I guess I'll move on to bass.
Right.
Well, I finished bass. I guess I'll move on to guitars. And you're just kind of like the next thing.
Yeah.
And you're expending a ton of creative energy.
Totally.
To do
yeah.
that.
I mean, to do every single instrument and be creative on even one song is a lot of mental energy.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, I like giving session musicians work.
Yeah.
So I would much rather
Same.
prefer session musicians. It's really just a budget thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes smaller artists, especially, they don't have the budget, and
Totally.
they just want to get a version of their song done.
Totally.
And that's where I would do basically what I'm explaining to you,
Yeah.
which I wind up doing a lot.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
It makes sense. I mean, it's an unfortunate truth, and some people might think, well, yeah, studio time's expensive, and it's like, yeah, I mean, it is, but it kind of has to be in order to keep the studio going,
Right.
And like, it's like, oh yeah, I can't afford session players. It's like, yeah, but if you could, what you would get would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like,
Totally.
they're 100% worth their rate, and the collaboration, and it's just the whole experience is elevated when you're able to do that. And sometimes, the younger artists don't really see it, but it's worth like talking them through if it's a possibility. If it ain't, it ain't. It's
Yep,
sometimes
for sure.
it's just not in the cards. But yeah, anyway.
And I mean, a lot of what I do is if I hire somebody to track on a song, I'm hiring them remotely.
Yeah.
So, like I try to find people who have like good recording setups or access to one. And then I'm like, all right, what's your price to lay down a track for this song? And then we kind of have a little bit of back and forth on that. And then I typically ask them for, a good 3 passes, like a good 3 versions or whatever. Of course, I kind of leave that up to them, a lot of the time. But that's the back and forth for me is often remote.
Yeah.
Like I'm rarely at a place like this in the producer role, like being able to live go back and forth. A lot of that for me happens via a Zoom call or
Yeah.
like whatever, just
Yeah.
kind of like having that style of back and forth. But
Yeah.
so it's just a little bit different. I think it's really, but it's also very similar the way we do it. It's really just a matter of what I have access to versus what you have access to. And,
yeah.
some of that is not just the stuff, it's the people.
It's the people. Yeah.
I think, you've got your go-tos for instruments. I've got my go-tos for instruments. And yeah, that's just a part of it. A lot of the guys that I work with prefer doing remote work.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And that makes a lot of sense in this day and age because it's, it's decently affordable to get, a quality home recording set up. And if you're, a musician that's really trying to give it a go, chances are you probably have something. And then once you get to the level that you're like, all right, I can pretty much play whatever anybody throws at me, you can kind of start, playing your hand as a session player.
absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I would say, like, just to kind of pause on this for a little bit longer, let's talk about session players.
Yeah.
The best session players are not the people who are, I don't know, in my opinion, they're not just the people who can play the crap out of their instrument.
Yeah.
They're people who can do it on the fly and they can be
Yes.
creative, and spontaneous or whatever.
Yes.
Because if you like, that's really what we're trying to capture when we record. Like we've talked about this before. We're trying to capture a particular performance, and I love working with people who bring very spontaneous things to their
Yeah.
performance.
Yeah.
Part of the reason I asked for the 3 passes is because one of them I just want kind of straight, just play the song all the way through, kind of straight. And typically I like at least 2 of those, and then the third one is going to be like just go for it.
Kind of a flair take.
Yeah, let's see what you want to do here. See how you're feeling on this one, and give me something that's just you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes you get some really cool stuff out of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I love that, and it's part of the whole thing is you get that person's creative mind on it, and you never know what can happen.
Yeah, you really don't.
Especially when I'm working with just straight singer songwriters. Like, they don't play any other instruments, so they don't even have any idea. I mean, they might have some sort of like, all right, maybe it should go, but it doesn't go very farther than that. Much
Right.
farther than that. And then when they hear what the drummer is actually doing to their song, or bass player or whatever, they're like, whoa, like, I didn't know it could be that cool.
Yes.
It's such an
Such a
awesome
cool
moment whenever we're all in here and the dudes go in there and lay it down, and it's like, yeah, they're awesome, right? And
Nice.
and the guy's like, yes, this is amazing. And, like, to see their reaction is just priceless.
Yeah, incredible
cool.
stuff, man. Incredible stuff.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Well, I guess this would be kind of a different approach to it too. Some of the things that I've done are, producing like a live recorded track. So like
Let's
there
talk
was a
about that.
performance, that happened, and a lot of these are like in the church space.
Yeah.
They've recorded a church service or whatever, and it's an original song that the band has learned, and they performed it on, like, I'm thinking of one track I did for a church where they performed it on Easter Sunday. So they had good captures, multi-track captures coming off of their board. The crowd was really engaged, and they were running crowd microphones, and like they approached me about mixing that, really producing it, because there were some elements that were missing, producing it and then mixing it for them. And that's always kind of just like a little bit different, because you have to explain to people that in the production process, even if all of the elements are there, like if every instrumental is played that you want on your track, it's still a live performance. There's going to be overdubs that have to happen and re-recordings, and there's going to need to be some back and forth, and you'll either get those instrumentalists to like re-record their parts on their own, and again, I'm talking like doing it remotely,
Yeah.
which can be very,
That can be hard.
very tricky.
Yeah.
And so, I usually, if an artist has done that and like I wasn't there for the tracking session, I kind of want the tracks from them first to be able to be like, okay, let's talk through what's possible and what's not possible based off of what you've given me, right?
Right.
And 90% of the time, I can't really go back to the musicians and have them re-record, so I either just edit the mess out of the track,
Yeah.
or I just re-record it myself.
Yeah.
Which I try to be transparent about. I tell the artist, like, hey, just so you know, I don't want to take away from the fact that this was, your band, but there's some parts I'm going to have to re-record myself.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're usually cool with that.
They probably know. They've heard the mistakes themselves.
Yeah, they know. They know what's going on.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
of course, the real way to do a live recording is not just to like do one take and like here you go to
Right.
somebody, but it's to have like an actual engineer there, a producer on site who's kind of in charge of like getting different takes. And it's just like,
Yeah.
being in the studio, you just have a whole band on stage and a crowd.
Right.
And you're like, all right, we're going to do this part of this song again.
Mhm.
It's an interesting process.
Yeah.
I would encourage listeners, if you've never been to a live recording of something, to go. Like a lot of churches now are doing live recordings of the songs they've written, and it's a unique process
That's
to
cool.
be a part of.
Yeah, like not a part of the sermon because you can't really just say, "Hey, we're going to do it again." Like,
Yeah, exactly.
It has to be a separate thing.
Yeah, it's got to be like a dedicated night usually, where
Yeah.
it's like we're recording this song, and it's going to be a several hour long process. And yeah, so that's the only kind of difference I would think on my side of things. But producing in that role for like a live album it's a unique experience, and it's a lot of fun. It just it can also be quite a lot of work.
Yeah.
Fixing stuff as the producer, it's tedious.
Yeah.
Like I remember this one track I was doing where the artist was like, my favorite thing about it was a live recorded church service that they wanted me to turn into a track. And she was like, the thing I love the most about this song is these guitar parts, because our guitarists wrote these parts. And I was like, cool. And I listened to them, and they were super cool parts because I could tell what there were two guitarists playing. I could tell what they were trying to do, but they never quite nailed it. It was like this really cool like palm muting part that was like they were both playing it together like in thirds, and anyway, it was really cool. But I was like, I listened all the way through. I was like, we didn't get a good capture of this, and there wasn't really. I don't remember why there wasn't a good way to go back and get it. So what I did was I literally. This is crazy, and I hate when I have to be this nitpicky, but I had to go through and find individual notes.
Oh yeah.
That they had and I recreated like the entire song's guitar tracks with individual notes that they had played.
Man.
And I mean, the finished result, like it sounded good.
Yeah.
And I did the same thing with the guitar solos and stuff because they were just like, it was just a little bit sloppy, and anyway, that's often the role of the producer role in a live tracked context. You're often having to do that level of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not for everybody.
No.
Like,
I mean, that's some serious editing right there.
Yeah. Like, I should pull that. This might be fun to do on the Patreon. Maybe like pull that session up and just show how much, what an edit like that looks like, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, yeah, that's one of the differences of being a producer for something live.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You kind of are left with what you got in a lot of ways.
Work with what you got.
That's right. That's right.
Work with individual notes sometimes if you have to.
Yeah, that's right. I hear you.
Yep. And drums too. I mean, producing drums, even if you have a fully recorded like drum track or whatever, a lot of the time you're looking for like a particular hit or velocity on a drum that worked really well, like a snare drum, and then you're like pasting it every time the snare hits.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, you know? Yeah.
That's a lot. I try not to do that if I can. I mean, I'd be lying to say that I don't do it at all, but I try not to get in there to do every single one. But sometimes some just get a little bit weak.
For sure.
And you need to make it strong.
Yeah.
So you use one of the other ones and try to still make it feel real.
Totally. Totally.
So,
yeah. Anyway, so that's the difference.
That's the difference. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, it's there's lots of different ways to kind of get from A to B here.
Yeah.
But
and everybody's process is a little bit different, It
is.
It's not like there's just one track to do it.
Right.
So.
And I mean, some people in the home, in the home studio world or whatever are, especially if they're, the artists and they're working it with themselves, producing themselves, like they skip the demo process completely. They just fire up their rig, and when they have an idea, they go straight into full-on production. And what, I'm sure they're doing multiple takes and all that, but like there's no, what they start with is what they're end with,
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. They just
Which
go
is,
straight
again,
to it.
just such a unique way to do it.
Yeah.
I've never tried that, to be honest. I've always thought it would be kind of cool just to pull up my DAW and just kind of start creating and see what happens.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I find that very inspiring. I also find it time consuming.
Yeah, definitely time consuming. I used to kind of do it that way. Well, when I had like a kind of a writing partner, it was a like duo project, and we would do it like that. We'd just be in the studio, and there would be an initial idea, but we would just build it from that.
Totally.
Straight up.
Yep.
So it can work. It's
It
not
can,
a bad way to do it.
And I think probably in the last few minutes here, what I'd probably want to talk about and just cover is, what makes a good production? Like, what makes a well-produced song, in your opinion?
Oh, a well-produced song. Okay. So the first thing that comes to mind for that is something that has emotion and intent and confidence in all of the instruments and all the parts, but also is not only like what they're putting into it has those three things, but the overall song as a whole has been really well thought out. Like, what does this song, what's it trying to say? What's the feeling that it's trying to convey? How well does it do that? And then within the song, does it have a flow that keeps the listener into it to get that goal from the beginning to the end?
Absolutely.
That's what I would say would be a very well-produced song.
Yeah.
And there's some like technical things about that. Like, I think, all right, we'll get into different genres and these kind of rules go out the window a little bit, right?
Sure.
But in general, there should be like instruments or elements or changes happening throughout the song at regular intervals to keep the listener engaged.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't have that, it can get a little stagnant and you can lose people.
Mm-hmm.
And then when that happens, your message is probably not received anyway, and it's not doing what you wanted it to do.
Absolutely, yeah.
If you care about that. If you're just doing it for you, then do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're putting it out there for people, like, have, even if it's something tiny, like have a shaker come in like halfway through the verse just to like, and the listener usually won't even notice it, but they will notice it when it's not happening.
Right. Yes. Great point.
Yeah.
Great point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Pretty much here's what I think of when I think of a web-produced song. I think of a song that keeps you engaged the whole time, similar to what you just said. And there are ways to do that. Like there are, some producers that I have really looked up to over the years have said a few key phrases that are just kind of like little nuggets that encapsulate this for me. And I'll just share a few of them with you now.
Yeah.
One of them is, I was told one time that 8 bars is as long as you should do the same thing.
Yeah.
8 bars is the longest amount of time to keep something the same.
Yep. I can hear that for sure.
Yep.
I've heard like 16 seconds
Yeah.
is about as long as you should, do. So I guess that depends on your tempo, if the 8
Sure.
bars or whatever,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But,
absolutely.
but
Yeah, same kind of idea.
Yeah, same kind of idea though. And I think that's totally true.
Yep.
Now, I will say there are some exceptions that I've heard, I'm sure everyone has heard, but like you can have a part or a basic like acoustic guitar or piano and vocal song that is very repetitive on the instrument side, but if the lyrics are just like, whoa, very clever and, really engaging, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, for
if
sure.
If the vocal is so good, like you can play the same chord progression for 3 minutes and people will listen to it because they want to hear the next word.
They do.
Know what I mean?
They do. Yeah.
So there are some exceptions, but I would say that that's rare. Not every song is going to get that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Another kind of like little nugget that I was told one time by a producer is that you should always be adding things. So like if you're looking at your tracks from left to right in like a production session, you should basically have like it should kind of look like a downward staircase, right?
Yeah.
You should always be like adding the next thing, adding the next thing, adding the next thing. If you're looking at your session and it's like,
right,
it's like, and it's hard to even say that visually that that like you should look at something that's an audio format visually, but it's a good indicator. Like
Yeah.
looking for the staircase.
It is. I mean, you would hear it
Yeah,
without
you
looking
would.
at it,
You would.
but yeah, you're right. Like that's a good way to kind of think about it and look at it. It's like, something needs to come in ever so often or go out.
Yes. Yes.
If you have a song, and a lot of songs will just start right out the gate with everything in there,
Yep.
and then things can drop out. And
Yes.
that kind of change works the same as adding something.
Agreed.
So
Yeah, there just needs to be something changed.
something changing.
Something
Yeah,
added or
that's
changed.
right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and I mean another thing that is really helpful is there's this term called ear candy. Right?
Yeah.
Ear candy they're typically kind of like the final additions when you're like listening through as you're producing and you're like, I just feel like I need something that's going to carry better, like carry the listener's interest more through like this transition into a verse or whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes those are like risers, like in certain genres or whatever, things that go like or whatever.
Build up. Yeah.
And they can just be random sounds sometimes.
Yeah.
But the ear candy is really what it's like a hook. It like keeps people engaged. It keeps you listening critically.
Yeah.
And yeah, those are really key important things. I didn't used to use those.
Yeah.
And I always felt like when I was producing songs early on, I was like, I feel like the song, I feel good about the song, but I don't feel like engaged through it.
Yeah.
And that's where I heard this piece of advice from when I asked this guy. And he was like, dude, you have no ear candy.
Oh.
He was like, literally go in there and like find 3 or 4 spots in these transitions and just put like, it could be a cymbal swell. It could be like anything that's gonna kind of give people like a hit to build
something.
them into.
Yeah, it's got to have some sort of transition. Like it can't just stop from one part to the next.
Totally.
Like, I work with rock music a lot, so usually it's a drum fill or something like that will take, the song or the listener from the one part to the next part. And those work really well because there's a ton of different kinds of drum fills that can be done.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. I like that. I think that's very crucial. Even like in the background stuff, don't forget about the background stuff. Like an ooh in the background in the chorus. Like certainly not the main thing, but it can elevate that chorus and make it separate and stand apart from the verse like a lot.
Yeah. Everything that you add should have a purpose. Like if you take it away, you should miss it.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. It's
So
a good way to think about it.
Well, cool. I think that covers production pretty decently.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay.
Awesome,
Nice.
man. Well, what are we working on?
Ooh, good question. I am doing a video series right now for a church where me and another friend went in and we filmed ourselves teaching how to use their AV systems. So it's kind of like a basics of mixing course, but it's on their particular system. So it's like going to be an 8-part video series that's designed specifically to teach like new volunteers at this church how to start mixing. So it's kind of a fun project. We this guy and I have talked about doing this for a while, but hadn't really found the right client. And then these people approached us and were like, hey, we really would love to have you guys come in and like teach us. And we're like, well, what if we did a video series?
All right.
So
there you go.
It's pretty cool stuff. We filmed all of it. I'm in the middle of editing it. And
cool.
It's coming out. What about you?
That's great. Yeah, man, that sounds good. I'm working with picking things back up with Zach Bell's band. We started production last year, and it was always meant to be a little bit broken up. They wanted to get like the core tracks done in that week or so we had, and then we take a little bit of time off for the holidays, and then we came back early in the this year, and picked things back up and really started flushing it out. And then it was kind of like a 3-step, maybe a 4-step, we'll see how it goes, process. And then so now we've got like the core. We still need to do some overdubs, and we're going to add some other auxiliary instrumentation to it. And they're on tour right now. And
Nice.
So whenever they get back from tour, we're going to add like kind of the final touches, I think, of the recording process, and then it'll go into the mix. So
Nice.
It's been cool. I like these guys a lot. They're kind of like indie rock punk kind of thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
I would say more like a softer punk kind of style, but they're cool and they're good dudes. And like the whole process has been honestly one of the best projects that I've ever worked on. Like it's just they're very organized and everything's kind of thought out ahead of time, and it takes a lot of stress off of me,
Nice.
which is great. And we get along well, so it's a good project.
Always love that.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Well, sounds good, man.
Yeah, it's good, man. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Audio Path. Leave us a comment. Let us know how do you produce your songs? Like, what's your song production flow or steps like? Is there anything different that we are have said that we're not doing really? And yeah, give us a like, subscribe if you enjoy this kind of thing, and until next time,
Steady the path.
steady the path.